I'm Judgy Bitch. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of kindness. You know, when you have an opinion, and when it's not a particularly popular opinion, what you want to do is phrase that in a very gentle sort of way. You know, respectful. You want people to feel safe and welcomed and like they're not being judged. Yeah, right! This is Judgy Bitch, people! Today what we're going to talk about is rape culture. What is rape culture? Do I look like a librarian? Google it! Rape culture. Rape culture is the idea that we live in a culture that is saturated with sexual violence, with rape, with all kinds of sexual crimes. We mean men being sexually aggressive and violent and raping women, of course. Not women doing that to men. That's not part of rape culture. That doesn't count. No, this is just men sexually attacking women. Now, one of the central features of rape culture, one of the key ideas, is something called Schrödinger's rapist. This is an analogy, a metaphor, drawn from a physics thought experiment. We won't get into that, we'll just accept this, okay? Schrödinger's rapist. It's the idea that all men, everywhere, all of them, all the ones you know, all the ones you don't know, the ones you haven't met yet, possibly even imaginary ones. I don't know. I'll have to check that. They might qualify too. Don't want to leave them out. So all men everywhere are potentially rapists, and they should be treated that way. The onus is on men to prove to women who are afraid of being raped, who would rather not be raped. The onus is on men to prove that they are in fact not rapists. Now, how do they do this? Well, they pay attention to what they're wearing, to their general demeanor, their language, to how they sound. They consider the context. Where are you? Are you in a dark parking lot? Are you in a crowded nightclub? I mean, all of these things have a factor. They have a bearing on how people might interpret the signals that you're sending. And it's your responsibility as a man who is in fact a potential rapist to reassure me that you are not going to rape me. That seems reasonable, no? Let's try another little thought experiment. How about we have Schrödinger's, oh my, well, I'm not going to say that word. I don't think any white lady should ever say that word under any circumstances. And yes, I'm talking to you, Gwyneth Paltrow. Don't let me get in my zone. Bitch, you couldn't get more white if you tried. What are you doing? Throwing around language like that. So let's say we have Schrödinger's N-word. All right, the idea is, as a nice, pleasant white lady, I would rather not be assaulted and mugged by anyone with brown skin. I would like you to not steal my shit. Now the onus is on you, black folks, to prove to me that you are not, in fact, a gangster thug. Now, how can you do that? Well, you can pay attention to what you're wearing, pull your pants up, turn your hat around. You can consider how you sound, how you're speaking, the context. What's important here is that you need to think about me. You need to consider what I might be worried about. And you need to reassure me that despite the color of your skin, you are not going to steal my shit. What the fuck? Are you serious? If anyone ever said that, it would be immediately decried as the worst piece of racist fucking advice ever, because it is. There's just that, it's ridiculous. No, you cannot treat every black person like they're a gangster thug. Nor is it their problem, nor should they have to reassure you that they aren't. And you should not be treating every man as if he is a potential rapist. And it's not a man's job to convince you that he's not going to rape you.
Don't let me get in my zone.
The second really important thing to understand about rape culture is that rape is not about sex. Rape is about power. Sex is simply the way that a man expresses his desire for power over women. And if you don't like that argument, it's probably because you're anti-Semitic. So what happens in this concept? Something very interesting, actually. The idea of sexual desirability or attractiveness disappears. Whether or not you are in fact a sexually appealing person no longer matters. It's kind of interesting, don't you think? So what we have with rape culture is women, all of them, no matter what they look like, no matter how much they weigh, what they're wearing, how they act, how they behave, what their personality is. None of that has any bearing on how our Schrödinger's rapist feels about them. It doesn't matter, because rape is about power. So your appeal is irrelevant. All women can imagine themselves to be a target, the object of a desire not for sex, for power. You see that guy over there? Yeah, that really hot one? He probably wants to rape you. Well, I mean, potentially, right? He could. Is the cat dead or alive? Who knows? So that's what we have with rape culture. Women can cast themselves in an imaginary narrative where all the men they meet, all the men they know, all the men they don't know, are potentially so overwhelmed with desire for them that they are willing to risk their careers, their freedom, their livelihood, their reputations, risk everything just to fuck them.
Don't let me get in my zone.
You can kind of understand the appeal of that. Bitch, please. Really? I mean, it's a staple of every romance novel, right? Every romance novel features a heroine of such utterly compelling beauty that the hero is simply overcome with lust and longing and desire for her, and he ravishes her against her will, and of course she loves it. And honestly, I think that's what rape culture is. It's a giant rape fantasy. One in which all women can imagine all men desire them with such force and such passion that they're willing to commit a crime, potentially. So what is my advice for men trying to navigate this cultural landscape where all women imagine themselves the object of your desire? Not for sex, remember, but for power. How do you navigate that? I don't know. Dudes, you're fucked. It's such a mess. Be careful. That's my advice. Be careful. Be careful.
Don't let me get in my zone.
But I do have some advice for women. If you want to cast yourself as the heroine in a narrative of overwhelming desire, here's what you need to do. You need to put down the cupcake. Hit the gym. Get in shape. Stop being so fat. You know, then you won't have to imagine men who want to fuck you. There might actually be some. Funny how that works, eh? Another thing women have to do is stop with this shit. You need to stop with this shit. You know, and if you're not going to stop with it, then you need to own it. This is your fantasy. You are the one projecting your own messed up psychological desires onto other people, real people. This is no different than having an irrational fear of black people and deciding that they all owe you. They're all obliged to prove to you that they're not going to rob you. It's ridiculous. You know, they deserve to go through life with just the basic respect of not being assumed a rapist. You know, I don't think that's asking a lot. It's not, really. If you want to be the object of male desire. And I think that is the entire point of rape culture. It's missing a word, isn't it? Fantasy. The whole point of rape fantasy culture is that women want to be the object of men's desires. But you can't say that culturally anymore, can you? No, that just makes you some victim of the patriarchy, you know, if you actually admit that you like men and you want them to desire you. Well, you can. Being a fat, slovenly, jackboot feminist probably isn't going to hit a whole lot of sweet spots, though. If you want men to desire you, you're going to have to learn something about what men desire. If you want men to desire you, you're going to have to like them. You know, treat them with some basic human decency. Just a little respect. You can start by not assuming they're all rapists. Lots of love. Judgy bitch.